possible withdrawal from the International Criminal Court at the African Union summit this past weekend has once again brought the subject under discussion. The issue arose last year when South Africa failed to arrest Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir, who the ICC accuses of mass killings in Darfur. To discuss this further, we are joined from our Pretoria studios by Professor Narnia Bohler-Muller, the Executive Director of Africa Institute of South Africa. It's good to have you, Professor. Thank you very much for joining us here on the program.
Thank you very much. It's good to be with you.
Professor, this is not the first time, obviously, that we're hearing about this. Last year, at the ANC's National General Council, they resolved that South Africa must withdraw from the ICC. Would you say this is something that is going to eventually happen?
You know, it's difficult to tell when you're dealing with quite a volatile political situation. But perhaps before I express an opinion on it, as you've stated, for a long period of time now, African countries have stated that the ICC is targeting them and that something needs to be done about it. And more recently, that solution has been to withdraw en masse from the ICC. It's very unlikely that that will happen. One example is that the DRC domesticated the Rome Statute into its national laws in January last month. So it doesn't appear that all African countries have the same negative approach to the ICC, although, you know, Robert Mugabe had a standing ovation. He does tend to whip up emotions. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. You mentioned that one of the factors that causes dissatisfaction is that Africa seems to always be targeted. What else? What do you think the main reason is behind this?
Okay, well, maybe we should look at facts first. Indeed, there have been a number of cases related to African countries, but interestingly, two of them were referred by the United Nations Security Council, which is also controversial in and of itself, because I don't think any of the members of the UNSC are members of the ICC. Then countries themselves refer cases to the ICC. So there were 4 African countries who referred cases to the court, and only 2 of the cases were investigated directly by the prosecutor. So that's one issue. The other issue is that currently, well, since 2012, the chief prosecuting officer is a black African woman from Gambia, and 2 of the 4 judges are African, one from Kenya and one from Nigeria. So I think perhaps in the past, with the previous chief prosecutor, there were problems with him targeting Africa. But since then, since the criticism, the ICC has begun to investigate a number of other issues in a number of other countries, Iraq, Palestine, Colombia, Georgia, Afghanistan. So I don't think that the solution would be to say, you're being a bully, so we don't want to speak to you anymore. The solution would be to try and see if there can be any changes implemented.
Yeah, but we talk about the fact that the ICC seems to target Africa, but I suppose the big question is, how effective has the ICC been in dealing with issues in Africa?
Yes, that's something else. I mean, you know, it's a long process. There are pre-investigations, and then there are actually court cases, most of which have led to acquittal. But, you know, there's also the situation of it's very, very difficult to investigate a powerful person, in particular sitting head of state. Because they have the ability to influence the amount of evidence that is provided to the court and so on. So we are talking about power dynamics here as well.
Yeah. Just finally on a closing note, if South Africa does withdraw from the ICC, what will this mean for the country and its relations with other countries outside the continent?
I don't think it will be a good thing. You know, we were one of the first countries to join the ICC, and the reason that former President Mandela gave was because we wanted to be an example to the world, a beacon for human rights. But it's starting to look as if South Africa is being considered as a country that doesn't really take human rights seriously. And we, even ignoring our own laws, you know, there is an International Criminal Court Act that went through our parliament. So we can't just unilaterally, through our president, decide that we're going to leave. So it will destabilize the country in terms of the rule of law, and it will also start making investors feel a bit nervous.
Yeah. Let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you so much, Professor. Thanks for your input on this issue. Professor Narnia Bohler-Muller is Executive Director of Africa Institute of the South African HSRC, joining us in our Pretoria studios.